Now we're going to talk about finishing the return. At this point, we've greeted the customer, we gave them refreshment, we went over and found out their story, found out more about them as a human being. We went over the written guarantee and the bank consents. So now and only now do we actually turn to the computer and actually start the return process. Now I would say that while you're doing this, don't ignore the customer. They're still sitting there and you can actually have some sort of a conversation with them as you put the information in. I like to turn the screen so they can actually see what I'm putting in. A lot of times they may or may not watch that, but they want to feel that they can look over and see that. So when you're finished with the return, it's completely done, you've put all the information and you're ready to present all this information to the customer, now we're at that point. So we're going to go to what's called Finish Return. It's a button on the top on the screen. So click on Finish Return, click through where it says you want to add a discount on there. So now we come to a page which is called the tax summary. Now, I'll just say this, I don't care if you go to the tax summary with them or if you go to the 1040 with them. Either way, what you need to do is go over the tax return information with them. Tax returns are not like Vegas. You don't just put a quarter in, pull the handle in, and you get a different answer every time. There's a science behind them, and we need to show them the science and the step-by-step process we went through to get their refund amount. But what you're going to do is you're going to go over each line of either the tax summary or the 1040. And you're just going to start very nonchalant and say, okay, we're going to file you as head of household today. Your total income was $18,238. Also, we have 3 dependents, 1 for you and the 2 kids that you support. And I'm going to go down each line. I'm going to say something like, we were able to qualify you for $4,200 of EIC. I got you child tax credit on both of your children. I was able to qualify you for the Make Work Pay credit, which is a fantastic credit this year, $400. And I'm going to go down each line of the tax return and just kind of build value and go over where that comes from. Now, the question is going to come up, do they understand it? And a lot of times they don't. But they want to hear the terms. They know that they have dependents. They know that they have EIC, child tax credit, and they want to make sure that you caught that and you actually got that on their tax return. And that's what's going to build value and trust in the refund number. Now notice a little bit of how I did that. Instead of just saying, you know, your EIC is $4,200, I was able to qualify you for $4,200 of EIC. So what I'm doing is I'm building up my own value. So I like the verbiage I was able to qualify you for, I was able to get you. That kind of verbiage really kind of builds your value as a tax preparer to the person. You're gonna get to the refund amount and think about what the customer's thinking, okay? Now, oftentimes, particularly early season customers, this is a significant amount of refund. If they're getting a $6,000 refund and they made $24,000 last year, you know, that's a quarter of their income for the year. It's a substantial sum of money. They're gonna instantly start thinking about, okay, I know how much you're gonna get, but they're gonna know when they're gonna get it. They're not gonna listen to a word you say until they figure that out. You know, all they're gonna hear is like, wah, 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 wah. They wanna know when they're gonna get their money. So what I do before I actually leave that screen is I pull up what's called the IRS refund cycle chart. And this is a chart that shows when the refund is anticipated to come to them. Because I want them to know what they're gonna get and when they're gonna get it. That's what they care about. When is my money gonna come in? And I want them to start spending this money in their mind. So if they know they can get $6,000 on the 5th of February, they're gonna start spending it. They're gonna start saying, well, you know what, I got rent due that day. I can also pay for my, you know, I got a pill I gotta pay for. So they're gonna start mentally spending this money. And if they take some ownership of that money, they're much less likely to walk away from this tax return. Because now they're walking away from something. They're not just walking away from a generic idea, but they're walking away from $6,000. So you take out the form, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to highlight the expected refund date. So you find the date period that you're in, you highlight that, and you highlight the expected refund date. In this case, it's they came in on January 29th. Expected refund date is going to be February 12th, 2010. So I'll highlight that form. Make sure you use the terms, according to the IRS, they estimate you will receive the refund on February 12th. You want to make sure that you're using these terms and putting the responsibility in the IRS. You don't want the responsibility of them coming in thinking that you're holding the refund. So immediately after showing them when they're going to get their tax refund, what I'm going to do is actually highlight the disclaimer in the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to highlight this and say, you know what? While I'm showing you the dates that the IRS expects to release them, I'll also note that the IRS does not guarantee these dates. And it's important to use the term IRS a lot because you want to put the onus responsibility on the IRS of that's why the tax return is being late, not that it's on you. Since this is the estimated date and they don't guarantee it, they do tell you when they will release it on their website. Within 72 hours on the website, you can go to this website, www.irs.gov, and click on Where's My Refund, and you can find out when they're going to release your refund. So I'll highlight this. Now, what is that doing? It's giving the consumer, the customer, a way to contact the IRS and find out where the refund is without calling us. I don't know how many times I've had a customer that's called in every hour to find out when the refund is. And I'll say, well, your refund's not due for another 2 weeks. And they'll call back an hour later and disguise their voice and ask about the same refund. So instead of them calling my store every hour in the hour, they can now check the website every hour in the hour. So it's going to save a tremendous number of calls into your office because they now know where they can go check. So make sure you fill this out, highlight that spot. You need to write on 2 pieces of information on that for the website. You need to write down the refund amount. In this case, we'll write down your refund and handwrite it is $6,321. And then you need to write on there their filing status because the IRS asks for that on the website. So write down head of household or married filing jointly, whatever it is. So fill that in for them, and then you're going to hand and give them to them to keep. So now they know what they're going to get, and they're going to know when they're going to get it, and how to find out from the IRS when that's supposed to come through. And this really helps. Now, the questions come up quite a few times. If this customer's indicated they're going to get a refund anticipation loan, do I need to go over this form? Because if on a refund anticipation loan, they need the money in 24 to 40 hours if they're approved for the loan. So it doesn't fall back to this time frame. Let me say this. It is more important for a RAL customer that you go over this form than anybody else because remember, it's a loan. They can be declined for it. If they're declined for the loan, it goes back to this time frame. It goes back to this February 12th time frame to get the money. So in order to avoid an upset customer, you need to make sure they understand that if you get the loan, you'll get it in 24 to 40 hours. If you don't, here's when you're going to get it. And this will cut out so many problems in your office. It's unbelievable. So only after we've gone through the refund cycle and told them when they're going to get the money, now we're going to go over the forms we're going to file. We were just justifying the refund amount, which is a question people have. Now we're going to justify basically our price because the very next screen, we're going to start talking about price. We need to go over the different forms we're going to file for them. So in this case, I'll pull up the screen. I'll say, well, we're going to file 1040 for you. We're going to file the EIC forms for you, which allow you to get the $4,200 for the EIC. We're going to file your additional child tax credit and your child tax credit forms, which to get her $1,000 for your daughter. I'm going to file your make work pay, which got you $800 for make work pay. I'm going to file your state tax return. So I'm going to go over all the forms that they're going to file with them. Now, what do we know about this? If there's a lot of forms on this page, it's going to be a higher price. If there's a few forms, it's going to be a lower price. So we're helping justify the price. Going over these forms is going to show them the difficulty of self-filing. They're not going to want to go home on TurboTax and try to do these 8 forms. They're going to think they're going to do it wrong, and this is just going to build faith in the process. So we're going to click Next. On this screen right here, there's a button right here that says that's called View Product Details. So you're going to click on that button that says View Product Details. So that's going to bring you this page called the Product Details Worksheet. And what we're going to do and focus on this page is we're going to tell them what they're going to get and when they're going to get it. Now the prices are listed on this page. We're not going to focus on the prices. We're just focusing on what they're going to get and when it comes. So what I'll do is something like this. I'll say, okay, if you want to paper file this today, you have to pay up front, but you'll get a check in 4 to 6 weeks when the IRS releases it for $6,321. If you want to e-file, which is much faster, you would still pay up front, but you get a check in about 8 to 15 days from the IRS where you will get a check for $6,321. Now, if you want to do what's called a bank product, where my fees are taken out of the refund, we can do what's called an RT. And the RT is the same thing as an e-file, but you'll get a check for $6,123, and that'll come in the same amount of time, typically 8 to 15 days. If you want to get a loan on that refund, you can try what's called for a RAL, a refund anticipation loan. And you would get, if you approve the loan within 24 to 48 hours, a check for $5,867. So what did I just do? I just went through the different product offerings. I told them what they're going to get and when they're going to get it. Now, right below these lines, you'll see on this page that it has the price of each of these options. Now, if they want to talk about that price, then you need to talk about the price with them. But if they're not bringing up price questions at this point, don't bring the price question up for them. Let them bring it up instead. So after going to the product offerings, we're going to now find out what they want to file, how they want to file. So we're going to ask them 2 questions. The questions are listed on top of the screen. The first question is, would you like to have your fees taken out of the refund? And this is going to allow them to find out if they want to have an RT. The second question is going to be, would you like to receive your funds quicker than 8 to 15 days the IRS normally takes to release your refund? And that will tell us if they want to RAL. If the customer says no to both those questions, then it's going to come to a cash close. It means that they got to pay you right now. So in a cash close, it's very important how you present the price. It's hugely important. What you can do is a very confident voice say your total today is $534. You want to pay cash, check, or charge. It's a classic sales close, 3 options, all of which assume yes. But you don't want to create a negative example for them. You don't want to go through and say like something negative emotionally, like, oh, this is kind of expensive. Because what you're selling them is that you don't believe in the price of it, and it's going to cause doubt in their mind. So make sure you avoid all emotional responses, any type of negative responses about the price. Just present it very nonchalant. Let me give you an example. Jim Blankenship in Columbus, Ohio was telling me an example where he had a customer come in. She came in, she was about 18 years old. She did a simple return, and it was $100. Well, the next year she came back, but in the meantime, she'd gotten married, she'd had a kid, and so now she qualified for EIC, child tax credit. It was a much more complicated return and much more expensive. It came out to $300. Well, the tax preparers saw this was an issue. So they said, oh, what am I going to do? They went running back to the back room, found Jim, and said, Jim, the return was $100 last year, it's $300 this year, what do I do? Now, she was smart enough not to show the customer the price at this point. So Jim said, well, let's transition her to the higher price. We'll charge her $175. Tax preparer says, great. So she was running back to the desk where the client was sitting. In the meantime, the customer had turned the screen, had seen the price, and had already written out the check for $300. So who had the issue in this example? The customer didn't have an issue. It was the tax preparer who had the issue. So don't make your issue about the price their issue about the price, because they may not have one. They're going to read a lot into how you present it. So be very nonchalant, be non-judgmental, just give a very confident, very confident answer. Your total today is $557, which you have to pay a cash check or charge. Again, this is a typical sales close, 3 options, all of which assume yes. You've got to be very confident about it. Now, if they have an issue, they'll tell you the issue at that point and you can address it. But don't create the issue for them. Don't say this is going to be expensive. Don't be tentative about it. Just be very self-assured about it. And that's it, guys. That's closing the sale. And let me tell you the final secret about closing the sale. It's not about the close. It doesn't really matter how you close it. It's about the process by which you build value throughout that tax return.